Some claim the uncanny valley instinct exists to make us be cautious around corpses. That's partly true. But it's really a defense mechanism against things pretending to be human. Greentexts stories about strange and uncanny things are all over the internet and /x/. Skinwalkers, shapeshifters, and human-like cryptids are so omnipresent in all spooky online forums that they are practically a meme at this point. And yet, they are nevertheless extremely creepy and spooky. Why is that? Skinwalkers, creepypastas, and images like this one are terrifying. They instill in us a fear and dread, a feeling that something is not quite right. This phenomenon, which arises when we are presented with images of a human-like figure that is nonetheless not quite human, is called the uncanniness, and was first described by Sigmund Freud in his 1919 essay Das Unheimliche, The Uncanny. In this work, Freud attempts to uncover the origin of this word, as well as nail down what sort of imagery instills in us that feeling of dread and fright. He defines the uncanny as that which is familiar, and yet the opposite of familiar. In this paradoxical situation, we feel an innate despair and inner dread. In the technological age, with the advent of robots and human-like machinery, this concept was expanded into that of the uncanny valley, which is normally represented by a chart plotting the humanness of an image with its perceived likableness. There is a sharp decline in empathy as the human likeness increases, which forms the shape of a valley, hence the phenomenon's name. Examples of the uncanny valley can be found all over the internet. Robotics, 3D computer animations, and lifelike dolls, as well as video games and virtual reality can all elicit this cold and eerie feeling in its viewers. Outside of technology, some of the most common childhood fears are of clowns, people wearing masks, and strange dolls. All of these relate to the uncanny valley and its reality as a psychological phenomenon. And yet, there is still no scientific consensus as to why the uncanny valley arises. Most theories agree that it comes from some sort of cognitive dissonance, as some parts of the brain affirm that the image seems to be a human, but others emit warning signals because of incorrect proportions or features. This lack of consensus within the brain is theorized to cause the uncanny feeling. But this theory is not without its flaws, and most other examples of cognitive dissonance lead only to some mild frustration or confusion, not a cold and eerie fear that is elicited by images of this sort. There must be some other reason for this deeply rooted fear to have evolved in the human species. Why would such a thing evolve? Well, fear can be of two types, inherited or acquired, the latter coming from psychological imprints a person has acquired during their lifetime. For example, if someone was stung by bees while very young, they may have an innate fear of bees or flying insects, even if they do not remember being stung. Obviously, this does not explain our fear of the uncanny, since most people have never been exposed to a situation which would leave such a psychological imprint. In fact, in our culture, we are normally conditioned to like dolls and clowns and the like, but many still have an innate fear of these things. So, this phobia must have been inherited from our ancestors, who acquired it because being afraid of not quite human things had an evolutionary advantage. What if there was some creature in the wild which mimicked human appearance and mannerisms, trying to gain the trust of unsuspecting victims in order to hunt them? Upon initial analysis, this seems quite far-fetched. But relationships of this kind exist in many different instances across nature. There are numerous parasitic insects, for example, whose only way of getting food is to mimic the behavior of other insects, normally social insects like ants of bees, and then either infiltrate the hive nest to gain access to food supplies, or lures out unsuspecting individuals to eat them. Obviously, none of the victims notice until it was already too late. Such a creature's existence would be elusive and unverifiable. Just like the unsuspecting insects, any human who got close enough to the creature to know of its existence would be promptly eaten. The few who survived encounters would tell stories of shape-shifting witches or shamans or try to explain the occurrence with their tribal knowledge. And as we all know, there are many legends in Native American mythology of shape-shifting witches or animals, called skinwalkers, or fleshgates, who have the ability to turn into or disguise themselves as any animal they wish, including humans.
Let's get a note thread going. I'll start. Be 16. Be living in backwoods of South Carolina. Hear stories from local kids of creepy stuff happening in forest about 2 miles from my new house. Decide to check it out, can't be that scary, right? Grab pistol, knife, and flashlight and head out into dense forest. Starts getting dark, turn on flashlight. Heavy fog all of a sudden rolls in, bringing the smell of copper and burnt hair. Hairs on back of neck start to stand on end. Start hearing whispers and giggles. Hear something running around in woods near me. Hear it get louder. No, closer. Turn around to see something crawling extremely fast low to the ground on 4 legs, but seem to have arms and legs like human. Fire a shot right into its back, and can see blood splatter and gunshot wound. Lets out a blood-curdling screech and retreats into woods. Fog lifts and smell suddenly goes away. Nope. Betamax all the way home. Get home and there it is, right in my driveway. Runs towards me, and I shoot at it, but the bullet doesn't fire. I'm guessing it was a dud. It jumps up and all I can see is its huge white eyes. Blackout. And wake up on top of Dad's car with Dad over me trying to wake me up. My head hurts like a bitch, and my ears are ringing. Tell Dad about what happened in woods and he just laughs. And tells me it was nothing. All goes normal for about another 3 hours when Dad says, "Hey Jake, mind getting me those steaks out of the fridge?" I just look at him and say, "Dad, my name is Anon, not Jake." Just looks at me like he is full of hatred directed towards me. Give him steaks and he just goes into his room with them. Uncooked, comes out an hour later with the package and throws it away. I don't even think about asking. At 11 p.m. he tells me to go to bed, which is odd, because it is a Friday, and he doesn't usually care when I stay up. But I do as told and go into my room. At around 3:15 my door opens. It's my dad. I say nothing and pretend to be asleep. That smell of copper returns to the air, and I feel sick to my stomach. My dad sits on the edge of my bed and just looks at me for what I would say to be about 30 minutes. He then mumbles something under his breath, and a voice I didn't recognize. My blood turned cold and I just laid there. When he got up and left, my heart dropped and I just laid there until morning. The next morning I wake up and my dad is asleep on his lazy boy recline, and his nose is bleeding. I wake him up and I'm still spooked. I ask him about the blood, and he has no idea where it came from. I ask him about the night before and he has no idea what I'm talking about, and he doesn't remember waking me up either. My heart drops when he states that it was still Friday, when I know for a fact that it is Saturday. But he argues with me until I show him my phone with the date. At this point we are both freaked. I've never ventured out into the woods since then, and nothing strange has happened since then, except sometimes I will hear the front door open and shut a few times during the night.
Most reports of skinwalkers on /x/ come in the form of Greentexts stories, and they tend to follow the same sort of progression. First, a person or a group of people go camping in the woods of North America. When night falls, spooky things begin to happen. Most stories talk about a distinctive stench of rotten flesh, burning hair, and copper, which marks the coming of the skinwalker. If the campers are lucky and manage to stay together, they can flee from the encounter intact, maybe after firing some shots at the creature and hearing a guttural scream. Otherwise, if someone becomes separated from the group, they are taken by the skinwalker, who proceeds to disguise itself as that person. The creature then tries to return to camp, impersonating the lost individual. It may repeat phrases that it had heard that person say, or just stay still, staring at the flames of a campfire. Sometimes the skinwalker becomes that individual for some time, even returning to civilization with the rest of the group, as the aforementioned story. Sometimes the person goes missing afterwards, but other times the real individual may return after a while. Many stories also showcase paranormal or supernatural occurrences, with people losing track of time or having multiple different timelines of the same events. But the universally recurring theme is that there is a creature that lives in the woods of North America and stalks down human beings, hunting them down, taking on their bodies, and then returning to the shadows, never to be seen again. From the few reports we have of such a creature's appearance, it is usually stated to be humanoid in shape, taller than a normal human, with height ranging from 7 to 12 feet. Its body is hairless, its limbs elongated, and it has a human-like yet featureless face. The eyes are tiny and sunken, like black dots, and the creature's mouth and sharp, blade-like teeth are arranged in a terrifying smile. One interesting green text in particular shows an Anon who claims to know how to attract skinwalkers. In it are incredibly detailed instructions on some sort of ritual to be performed in the woods in order to lure in the creatures. A cat or dog is to be used as bait. The instructions insist that throughout the whole process one should never make a sound or move, let alone open the tent to see what's outside. The poster claims he got the information from a now forgotten online forum, and that he had tried to technique with his friend when they were younger. According to the Anon,
put it this way, he tried opening the tent, I cowered like a pussy, I'm still here, he went missing almost 20 years ago now.
The uncanny valley as an evolutionary defense mechanism has proven to be quite an interesting and spooky theory. Some other contending theories include that it is a form of protection against dead or diseased bodies, or maybe even against other human species, when Neanderthals and the like still walked the earth some tens of thousands of years ago. Others claim it is simply a byproduct of our innate pattern recognition neural circuits malfunctioning when seeing unexpected features, similarly to when one sees a square with one side slightly smaller or larger. Whether any of these are true or not, we may never know. But the skinwalker theory is definitely the spookiest, and it is also good food for thought. To finish the video, here's a story of someone claiming to be a wildlife expert, exposing what he believes to be the truth about skinwalkers. I'm a trail guide and backpacker. Years and miles. Seen lots of shit. I can't explain everything I've seen in the wild, but I can tell you this, you will see things out there that defy explanation and, you'll spend the rest of your life wondering about them. If you ever take word of caution, take this like your life depends on it. Don't go into the wild alone. Don't stray from your camp at night. Don't answer or seek out anything that calls you mysteriously in the night. Do not believe everything you see with your own eyes. I need to repeat that, like your life depends on it, do not believe things, especially out of place people, voices, or suspicious things that you see, even with your own eyes, especially when your gut and instincts are warning you. There's something out there, something that scares grown men even like me, something we won't talk about but it's real, has no consistent form, and it lures you. If you are a wild thing and a hunter of human beings, there's no better hunting ground than our busiest national and state parks. Note I said busiest. If you are a hunter of opportunity, then there's no better prey than the young, the weak, the old, the alone. There's something out there, so old, so skilled, so clever and cunning, not just a being but a species, that has or have developed a specialized survival skill, luring and preying on lost or solitary humans. Can a predator in the natural world lure, trap, summon or even hypnotize their prey? A quick Google search should yield you hundreds of examples of such species in the animal, fish, bird, and insect kingdoms. What I submit, if exists such a species, old as man, whose success depended on the successful hunting of humans, not only would it be very clever and good at it by now, but we'd have no record or memory of it in our history, just as no insect has probably ever survived an encounter with a trapdoor spider. I submit their hunting approach is case by case. Their lure different depending on their human prey's age, strength, and size, but what I submit is that our oldest natural predator, an undiscovered predator, is still operating due to its skill of being able to read us like a book, hit us with lure, a lure I've distinctly recognized several times, particularly at night, just beyond the glow of the campfire, lead us into a trap, to never be seen or heard from again. People, I submit a thing exists, something's out there, a species, that's not too unlike Stephen King's It. I've felt the lure, tasted it, smelled it. It's the smell of food when you're hungry, company when you're lonely, music where there should be none, beauty where there's danger. Nothing can explain the sensations, but deep down you'll feel it, in your gut. Something's not right. Something's waiting. Something's watching. Ask any man who's survived long enough alone in the wild. There's a siren-like hunter out there. It'll own you dead to rights, if you don't listen to your gut. Anyways, that's it for this video. Thanks for watching and we hope to see you soon once again.